Jack River lived alone in the middle of a giant space junkyard. It was quiet, messy, and full of broken things, just the way he liked it. Far from the busy planets and noisy cities, Jack spent his days fixing old machines and searching for useful parts. Once he was a great starship engineer. Now he was just a man with a robot dog, a toolbox, and no one to talk to. The junkyard was on a small, forgotten moon. Every day, huge cargo ships dumped their trash from space. Broken robots, damaged, ship parts, old tech, and forgotten things. Most people thought it was a useless place. But Jack saw treasure in the trash. One morning, Jack was searching through a pile of crushed cargo containers. He was looking for a fusion coil, a rare part he could trade for food. His robot dog, Bolt, barked softly. Jack stopped. He listened. A sound came from the pile. It was small, like someone crying. Jack carefully pulled away the metal pieces. Then he saw her. A young alien girl, no older than 10, with pale purple skin and big silver eyes, was hiding under a bent panel. Her clothes were torn and she looked tired and scared. She held a rusty food pack close to her chest like it was a treasure. "It's okay," Jack said in a calm voice. "I won't hurt you." The girl didn't speak. She just stared at him, eyes wide with fear. Jack raised his hands to show he had no weapons. "My name's Jack. I live here. Are you alone?" Then he heard another sound, a weak cough from deeper inside the wreckage. "There's someone else," he whispered. He followed the sound and found a woman lying under a broken beam. She was the girl's mother. Her leg was badly hurt and she could barely move. Jack looked at the wound. It wasn't fresh, but it needed care. They were not from Earth. Jack had seen their kind before, Varelians, peaceful aliens known for music, farming, and healing. Why were they here in a place full of garbage? Jack helped move the beam and gave the woman water. She looked at him with tired eyes, then at her daughter, who had quietly come closer. "Thank you," the woman said softly. Her voice was strange, but kind. Jack nodded. "You're safe now." He didn't know who they were, where they came from, or why they were left here like trash. But Jack made a choice right then. He wasn't going to walk away. He had tools. He had scraps. He had time. And maybe, just maybe, he had a little bit of heart left to give. Jack looked at the sky above and then at the wreckage around them. "I'll build you a place," he said. "It won't be fancy, but it'll be safe." And so, a forgotten man in a forgotten place found something unexpected in the junk. Jack brought the alien girl and her mother to his small workshop made from old ship panels. It wasn't much, just a metal room with a bed, tools, and some lights, but it was dry and warm. The girl sat on the floor quietly, hugging her knees. Her mother lay on the bed, still in pain. Jack didn't speak much. He wasn't used to company, but he knew how to help. He took out a small med kit he had saved for emergencies. Carefully, he cleaned the wound on the mother's leg and wrapped it in clean bandages. He gave her a warm drink made from powdered herbs and nutrient water. "You'll feel better soon," Jack said. The woman nodded weakly. "My name is Mireille," she said slowly. "This is my daughter, Tala." Tala didn't say a word, but she looked at Jack with curious eyes. She still didn't fully trust him, but she also didn't run away. Jack sat down across from her. "You hungry?" He handed her a protein bar. She sniffed it, then took a small bite. A few minutes later, it was gone. Mireille watched carefully. "You are kind," she said. "That is rare." Jack gave a small laugh. "I'm just a man in a junkyard, no one important." Mireille's eyes softened. "To us, you are." Jack asked no questions about what had happened to them, but he guessed enough. Varelians didn't belong in a junkyard. Someone had hurt them, left them here to die. That thought made Jack's heart ache. The next day, he started building. He found some old panels from a crashed cargo ship and used his tools to create a shelter next to his workshop. It had a roof, walls, and even a small heater made from a repurposed engine coil. Tala watched him work. At first, she just sat and stared, but soon curiosity won. She walked over and picked up a tool. Jack smiled. Ever used one of these? She shook her head. Want to learn? She nodded slowly. Every day, while Mireille rested, Jack taught Tala. Small things. How to tighten a bolt, how to check a circuit, how to tell which scrap was useful and which was just junk. She was a fast learner. One afternoon, Jack handed her a screwdriver. Try this, he said. Tala fixed a broken drone arm in 10 minutes. Jack whistled. You're better than I was at your age. Tala smiled. It was small, but real. That night, Mireille stood beside Jack as they watched the stars above. Why are you helping us? She asked. Jack didn't answer right away. He looked at the half-built shelter, the girl sleeping peacefully inside, and the quiet junkyard around them. Because someone once helped me, he said, and I never got to say thank you. Mireille nodded. Then let us say it for them. Thank you, Jack. The junkyard was still full of broken things, but now, something new was growing among the scraps. The junkyard was not silent anymore. Now the sound of tools, clanging metal, and quiet laughter filled the air. Jack's hands moved quickly as he tightened bolts and welded scrap into place. Beside him, Tala passed him parts and asked questions. She wanted to know everything: how wires worked, what made engines hum, and how broken things could be brought back to life. Jack didn't mind. In fact, he liked it. He hadn't talked this much in years. You know, he said one morning while drawing lines on an old metal sheet. We're not just building walls. We're building a real home. Tala looked at the sketch. It was a simple plan. 3 rooms, a water tank, solar panels for power, and a small greenhouse. Everything would be made from junk, but it would be theirs. She pointed at a circle on the drawing. What's this? A garden, Jack said. Your mom said Varelians grow healing plants. We'll build one here, with light tubes and nutrient soil. Tala's eyes lit up. Mama will like that. And she did. Mireille, though still weak, had started walking slowly again. She helped sort scrap and clean old containers for the garden. Her calm presence brought peace to the growing space, and her knowledge of plants surprised Jack. I never knew weeds could be useful, he joked as she showed him how to prepare soil using dried moss. Mireille smiled. Even broken things can heal if given care. That became their rule. Nothing is useless. Everything can be rebuilt. Soon their home began to take shape. The roof was made of strong starship hull pieces. The walls were patched with leftover panels, but they held firm. Jack found an old water purifier and fixed it so they could drink clean water. He even restored an old heating core to keep them warm during cold nights. One evening, while setting up solar lights, Jack looked out at the junkyard. It was still filled with broken metal, lost machines, and forgotten tech. But in the middle of it, something beautiful was rising. Hope. Later that night, Jack, Mireille, and Tala sat outside the shelter watching the stars. Bolt, Jack's robot, dog sat beside them, lights blinking softly. You know, Jack said, this place was quiet for a long time, just metal and silence. Now it's a home, Mireille said gently. Jack looked at Tala, who was quietly drawing her own blueprint. In the dirt. What are you making? He asked. A school, she replied with a grin. For other lost kids like me. Jack felt a lump in his throat. That's a big dream. Tala looked up. You built this from junk. I can build that. Jack nodded slowly. She was right. They were all builders now. In the middle of a forgotten world, 3 broken lives were building something new. Not from gold, but from kindness, courage, and scrap. Life in the junkyard had become peaceful. The small home Jack built now had working lights, clean water, and even a little garden full of strange alien plants that Mireille grew with care. Tala was learning fast. She could fix small machines and even programmed Bolt, the robot dog, to dance. But one quiet morning, something changed. Jack was checking a solar panel on the roof when his old radio scanner started beeping. It had been silent for months. No signals, no messages, just static. But now it was blinking and making a low sound. A message was trying to come through. Jack climbed down quickly and turned up the volume. The voice on the other end was broken and full of static. Searching escape pod. Last seen Sector 9. Jack's face turned serious. That message wasn't random. Someone was searching for something, or someone. Mireille and Tala came outside when they heard the noise. "What is it?" Mireille asked. Jack didn't look up. "A ship sending out a search signal. They're looking for an escape pod. Probably the one you and Tala came in." Mireille's eyes widened. "They found us?" Jack shook his head. "Not yet, but they might." Tala grabbed her mother's hand. "Are they bad people?" Jack looked at her, then at Mireille. "You don't have to tell me everything. But if they left you here like trash, they're not coming to rescue you. They're coming to finish what they started." Mireille took a deep breath. "We were running from them. My husband tried to protect us. They were using our people for work, dangerous work. We escaped, but only Tala and I made it here." Jack listened quietly. He didn't ask for more. He just nodded. "We'll hide," he said. "We'll prepare." From that day, Jack worked harder. He strengthened the walls of their home and added metal shields around the garden. He reprogrammed old drones to watch the sky and warn them of visitors. Tala helped, serious and focused. Even Mireille, though weak, gave advice and helped hide their supplies underground. One night, Jack sat with Tala, looking at the stars. "Are we safe?" she asked. Jack sighed. "Not completely, but we're not helpless." She leaned against him. "You fixed machines. Now you're fixing us." Jack didn't know what to say. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man in a junkyard. But maybe, just maybe, he had become more than that. A few days later, the warning drone beeped. Something was coming. Far above the junkyard, in the sky full of stars, a small ship appeared. It was dark, quiet, and moving slowly. Searching. Jack stood at the top of his shelter, eyes sharp, tools ready. "If they're here to hurt my family," he whispered, "they picked the wrong junkyard." The stars watched in silence as the junkyard prepared, not just to survive, but to stand strong. Jack moved fast through the junkyard. His feet stepped lightly over broken metal and old wires. The signal jammer in his hand was ready. He had one goal: keep the ship away from Mireille and Tala. The ship above was scanning the area. A soft blue light moved across the piles of scrap like a silent searchlight. Jack knew how these ships worked. They used heat, sound, and movement to find life. He needed to distract it. He climbed an old engine tower and placed the jammer high up. As soon as he turned it on, the light from the ship paused, then turned toward the tower. Jack smiled a little. "Got you." The ship lowered slightly, humming quietly. It hovered over the tower, confused by the signal. Jack used that moment to run the other way, deeper into the junkyard. Inside the shelter, Mireille held Tala close. They watched the small screen that showed the scanner. The red dot had moved away from their area. "He did it," Mireille whispered. "He's leading it away." Tala's eyes filled with worry. "What if he doesn't come back?" Mireille touched her daughter's face, gently. "Jack is smart and strong. He'll come back." Back outside, Jack kept moving. He tossed metal pieces behind him to make noise and confuse the sensors. He led the ship in circles, using old wreckage to block its view. But the ship was fast. It was starting to learn. It fired a small net, thin, glowing threads that flew through the air. Jack ducked just in time as it landed behind him, crackling with energy. "That was close," he muttered. Then he had an idea. Jack ran toward an old wrecked freighter ship at the edge of the junkyard. Years ago, it had exploded in midair and crashed. Its fuel tanks were still buried beneath. Dangerous, but useful. He reached the tank and opened a control panel. With shaking hands, he connected a power wire from his tool belt. The lights blinked red. "Please still work," he whispered. The fuel core hummed. He ran back, trailing the wire behind him. The ship was still following, but slower now. Jack threw a metal bar at it to get its attention, then ran behind a large pile of scrap. Once the ship moved close enough, he pressed the button. Boom! The ground shook. A burst of smoke and fire filled the sky. The explosion wasn't big enough to destroy the ship, but it blocked its sensors and blinded its scanners. The ship pulled back. It hovered for a moment, confused, then slowly turned and flew away, disappearing into the stars. Back at the shelter, Tala watched the scanner. The red dot was gone. "He did it!" she shouted, smiling wide. Minutes later, Jack walked back. Covered in dust, his jacket torn but smiling. Tala ran and hugged him tight. Mireille smiled too. "You didn't have to do all that for us?" Jack looked at them and replied, "Yes, I did. You're not just guests. You're family now," and under the quiet stars, the junkyard felt like home, stronger than ever before. Days passed after the ship left. Jack repaired what was damaged during the escape plan. He fixed the broken tools, cleaned up the explosion site, and reinforced the shelter walls with stronger scrap. The danger had passed for now, but something had changed. Mireille walked more easily now. Her body was healing, and so was her heart. She spent more time in the garden they had started. The plants she brought from her home planet were growing slowly in the dusty soil. Strange blue flowers bloomed under the heat lamps, glowing softly at night like stars. Tala took care of the plants every morning. She watered them, checked the soil, and even sang to them in her soft voice. "They like your songs," Jack said one day, watching from the doorway. Tala smiled. "Mama said these flowers grow better with kindness." "Well, I think they're growing perfectly," Jack replied. Inside the shelter, things were better too. They added more shelves, lights, and even a small cooking area made from an old cargo ship oven. Every night they sat together and shared stories. Mireille told tales of her planet, Tala shared dreams of becoming an engineer, and Jack listened, smiling quietly. One afternoon, as Jack was welding a frame for a water tank, Tala came running with wide eyes. "Uncle Jack, come quick." He dropped his tools and followed her to the garden. In the middle of the plant stood a tall flower with bright purple petals. It glowed warmly, and its scent filled the air like fresh rain. "It bloomed," Mireille whispered, stepping forward, slowly. "This is a healing flower. It hasn't grown on my planet in many years." Jack looked surprised. "From scrap soil and old lights?" "From love," Mireille said, her eyes soft. "From safety, from hope." They all stood around the flower, watching it gently sway in the warm air. It was a sign, not just of life, but of a new beginning. That evening, they placed small lights in the garden and built a low fence around it from old pipes. Tala painted a wooden sign and placed it at the entrance. "Hope Garden," it said. Jack read the sign and smiled. "You named it well." Tala looked up. "It's not just a garden. It's proof we can make something beautiful even in a place full of broken things." Mireille added, "Even in the darkest place, something can still bloom." As the sun set, the junkyard glowed with soft light, flowers, tools, and 3 hearts that had found each other in the dust. Jack looked at them and thought, maybe this is why I stayed all these years. Not to fix machines, but to help fix lives. And so, among metal and memories, the junkyard no longer felt forgotten. It had become. Weeks turned into months. The junkyard, once a lonely and quiet place, now felt alive. Plants grew stronger in the garden. The shelter was larger and brighter. And Jack, Mireille, and Tala were no longer strangers. They were a family. Every morning started with the smell of warm food and soft laughter. Tala had built a small wind-powered fan that cooled the shelter. Jack added more solar panels and fixed an old water recycler, giving them clean water every day. Mireille even started teaching Jack and Tala her language in the evenings. One day, Jack got a message on the old radio. It wasn't a warning. It was a request. "This is Captain Lorne of the Outer Systems Survey. We are looking for skilled builders and engineers to help rebuild nearby stations. Good pay, safe work, help wanted." Jack stared at the message for a long time. He could go. He could leave the junkyard behind and earn good money. But then he looked around. Tala was feeding Bolt and laughing as he spun in circles. Mireille was planting new seeds near the garden fence. The shelter behind them stood tall and strong. It was no longer just made of scrap. It was made of effort, trust, and love. "I already have work," Jack said quietly. "The most important kind." That evening, he told Mireille and Tala about the message. "Are we leaving?" Tala asked, her voice unsure. Jack shook his head. "Not unless you want to. But I thought we could build something bigger right here." Mireille raised her eyebrows. "Bigger?" "Yes," Jack said, smiling. "There are other people out there lost and afraid. What if this junkyard becomes a place for them too? A place to rest, to rebuild?" Tala's eyes lit up. "Like a safe town?" Jack nodded. "Exactly. We'll call it something better than Junkyard, though." Mireille thought for a moment. Then she said, "How about New Haven?" They all looked at each other. The name felt right. Over the next few weeks, they worked harder than ever. Jack built more shelters. Mireille planted more food. Tala set up signal, beacons that offered help to passing ships. Soon, travelers began to arrive. A lost miner, a family from a broken colony, a robot with no memory. Jack welcomed them all. They shared food, tools, and stories. New Haven was growing, built from parts but held together by kindness. One night, under the stars, Jack sat outside with Mireille and Tala. "You know," he said, "I used to think everything here was useless, junk." "And now?" Mireille asked. Jack smiled as he looked at the lights of New Haven glowing in the dark. "Now I know," he said. "Even broken things can become something beautiful with the right hands and the right heart."